Hello there guys, Francis Gray here, and in today's video, after 12 long years, I'm finally going to finish off this custom Joker and Harley Quinn Mad Love statue. Stay tuned. Okay guys, so I've got a bit of a confession to make with this one. This was actually started originally 12 years ago, and it didn't start out like this. It was actually a statue that I found in an antique shop, which was based on that 1920s kind of style era, and it was basically like a gentleman and a lady dancing. And it was, as soon as I saw it, I thought that would make a very good Joker and Harley Quinn Mad Love custom. So I bought it, started doing the work, but back then I didn't record my process. I only recorded it through pictures, and due to a house move, this not only got shelved, unfortunately it got packaged up and then lost at the back of a crawl space. It's really dark in here.
It works at so many levels!
So due to looking around and looking for some other things for some other projects, thankfully I came across this, and it couldn't have been better timing as well. So as you can see there, I'm missing a big piece of the puzzle, and this is going to be that piece. So as you can see there, that will fit really nice. Yay! So yeah, to bring you up to speed, to show you how I got up to this, the only thing I've got to share is old photos. So they're not my best work, they're a bit blurred. I was early days of me in this hobby, so things weren't as crisp and clean as they could be.
School at photography? It's bloody rubbish, lad.
What?
Please sit back and enjoy, and I'll give you some audio commentary of what was happening, and then when we catch up we'll crack on with the rest of the build. So sit back and enjoy and run VT.
And here we go.
Okay, so I started off with the statue that I bought from the antique shop. So as you can see, there's very 1920-esque dancing, and I decided to take this lovely statue and lop off the man's head. So the reason why I cut the head off was so that I could replace it more looking straight forward, much like the famous artwork from Alex Ross. So here you can quickly see the difference between the two poses. Much better. So for the next part, I took a sanding bit and then carefully eroded away some details that were unwanted or unneeded. So this included parts of the dress and obviously the lady's hair. So later on we can go ahead and we can sculpt Harley's iconic jester hat. Then I decided to add a wooden base to, the base. To elevate it up, and obviously this will give me an area where I can sculpt more details later on. For the next part, I decided to have a go at using some Soup Sculpty and sculpt some Joker-esque features to the male head. Unfortunately, I wasn't a huge fan of this in the long term, so this is hence why the statue's not got no head at the moment, but a couple of pictures from now they'll still continue to be there. So the head was re-added, and then I used other parts of Soup Sculpty to sculpt a little bit more to Harley's jester hat, and also a few little extras like Joker's poison flower. More was sculpted to Harley's jester cowl, and as you can see there, the statue's starting to take a lot more better shape. A few more extra details were added and a little bit more cleanup, and then we were on to the grey prime stage. And here it is, grey primed. So for the next part I decided to add some of the white tones. This is just to basically make things a little bit easier to paint the vibrant colours on later on. Then I added a nice base coat of a vibrant red for Harley's dress. Then more base colours were added, and as you can see it's looking a lot more vibrant now. Then I decided to cut Joker and Harley off the base that originally came with the statue. I just found that base to be a little bit too bumpy, so I decided to sculpt a brand new one. So the new base was more closely connected to the character of Joker and Harley. So it features both Joker playing cards and then obviously Harley's red and black diamonds. And once that was sculpted, I went ahead and painted it. Then I drilled and pinned the statue onto the new base, and as you can tell it looks a lot better now. Still not sold on that head though. Here's a few more pics of the statue on the new base. And then I decided I hated that head that much that I decided to rip it back up again. And now you've caught up. Now let's crack on with the build. Okay guys, so the first thing I did was I went into matter control and I uploaded a 3D file of a Joker head. Now I originally found this as a bust on Thingiverse, and I downloaded this about 2 years ago, but when I tried to look it back up so I could credit the original artist, unfortunately I can't seem to find the original file, so I presume it was took down from Thingiverse. So now that I had the bust STL 3D file, I went ahead and once again sliced the head off. Yeah, I know I seem to have a problem at the moment. But getting back to the build. So now that we've just got a separate head, I saved that as a separate STL file and then uploaded it into my Resin 3D print software, and then added the supports and then printed it off. Okay, so here I am printing it off on my Resin 3D printer, and I'm using water washable resin, so it's a lot easier to clean later on. And it's UV resin sensitive, so you always want to make sure that there's no natural sunlight coming in when you're working with these types of resins. And give this a couple of hours and we should be good to go.
3 hours later.
Okay guys, so here it is all printed off, so for the next stage we can go ahead and we can cure it. Okay, so here it is in the curing machine, so I'm just going to pop the head into the tub and then I'm going to serve it to have a quick rinse for about 5 or 6 minutes.
A few moments later.
Okay, so now that that is nicely washed, for the next stage I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take off the unwanted parts of the resin. It's easier to do that at this stage while the resin's still raw, I suppose, rather than after it's been cured. So it's a little bit of a clean-up work, but it's worth doing at this stage. So just going to dry it off and then we can pop it back into the curing machine and we can set it for about another 5 or 6 minutes to cure.
Eventually.
Okay guys, so here is the head printed, and as you can see that is way under scale, so obviously I did the calculations a bit wrong on this one. So, but for the most part the head looks fine, so I went ahead and I printed it again, but this time in the correct scale. So as you can see, that is a whole lot better. This part of the neck doesn't line up right, so I'm going to have to grind that down. But once that is grinded away and the head's down just like a couple of millimeters, that will be bang on. So let's do that next, and then we can give it a good clean up, and then we can think about white priming this bad boy.
Okay guys, so I only have to grind away a couple of millimeters off the top of the neck. So once that's done, we can go ahead and white prime the head.
Two hours later.
Okay guys, so as you can see there, that head is looking a lot better now, and it fits really nice next to the Harley Quinn cowl. So for the next stage, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to drill and pin a metal piece of rod to the back of, or the underside of the Joker's head. Okay, so now that that's glued, for the next stage I need to make a channel hole down the top of Joker's neck to give the pin somewhere to sit, and hopefully it's in the right location so it'll fit nice and flush. Once I'm happy with the peg system, for the next stage I'll go in with some milliput and resculpt the neck. Okay guys, so now that the neck, or the milliput to the neck is dried, for the next stage I'm going to take off that god awful flower. So I'm going to make another one later on, but I think I'll probably 3D print one. So yes, I'm just going in now with a sharp scalpel and then just taking my time, scraping it all away, and then we can crack on with the rest of the build. Okay, so now that that flower's gone, for the next stage I'm going to take away some really simple cuff links that I made originally. These are quite out of scale, if I'm honest. So yeah, so simple, same again, just a scalpel, just quickly cut it and then just get away the excess, and then same again, we can add a better one. Cheers, Jack. So after this was boxed for a long time, as you can see there's a little bit of a chip that has been took out. So the only way to fix this, really, I could use milliput or Aves epoxy, but in this regard, because it'll probably get handled a lot, I'm going to go with Aves epoxy because it tends to harden just that little bit more better. So yeah, so just going to put it into shape, get some water, slightly wet it, and make it so it flows nice and neat, and then just leave it to dry. Okay, so for the next part, seeing as this was in a box for 12 years, some of the base coat colours has faded a little bit, or has got a little bit of dust on it. So after giving it a clean off camera, I think I should go back over with the base colours again, just to revitalise what we already done, and then once we get to that stage, they can then add more highlights to make it look better. If anybody's interested, this shade of purple is from an old Games Workshop paint, which I've had same again for about 12 years now, and it's titled Imperial Purple. So at this stage I am going in with a bright green, and I'm going to do the centre like cravat that's on the Joker, and then obviously I'm going to start highlighting his hair and his eyebrows. After that, I then went in with some medium acrylic red, and I started highlighting all the original red parts. So while the acrylic red is still out, I decided to give a top-up coat to the right side of Harley's jester hat, and we can also lay a base foundation to Joker's lips. Starting to look more like Mr. J now. So for the next stage, once again, seeing as the red's still out, I laid a base foundation to the red lips to the Joker heads on the playing cards on the base, and I also went ahead and added the red roses on the floor. So while we're working on the playing cards for the base, these will need a couple of coats of white, because same again, this being neglected for over 12 years, all the whites have kind of yellowed, so I'd say probably at least 2 or 3 coats over the sides of the playing cards. The Joker head itself, I'm going to leave that the original dark, like kind of slightly yellowed white, just so it stands out separate from the more vibrant white of the cards. It just makes it pop out a little bit more. So talking about refreshing the whites, obviously I can't go ahead and leave Harley's makeup untouched. So once again, going in with a fine detailed brush, taking my time and making sure it's all coated. Okay, so up next we're going to go ahead and refresh some of the blacks, but mainly focusing on Harley's jester hat, or the left side of it, shall I say, and also a face mask as well. And let's not forget about the dress. Okay, a quick cup of tea and we can get back to the job. So now that the black on the main figures is dried, for the next stage I'm going to go in and I'm going to top up the black on the base. So for the next part I went in with some medium to darker green, same again acrylic, and went over the Joker's hair and then gently dabbed away the top surface layer just to reveal some of that lighter green from underneath. And at this stage I'm going in with a very fine detailed brush, and I'm carefully taking my time to do repaint all the yellow bits of the shirt. So this was a bit quite tricky because obviously you don't want it to overlap on the lighter colours like the white on his face. So now that most of the face details has been implemented, for the next stage I'm going to go in carefully with a cocktail stick and then add some of the Joker's pupils to his eyes, and then this will really make the figure come to life. Okay, so remember we grinded away the original cufflinks? Well, that's because we're going to be adding these little crystal gem things, which are more to scale, and obviously with them being metallic in nature, they stand out a lot more, and they just look better all around really. So yeah, so just take my time, bit of PVA glue, and then just some small tweezers, and then get into place, and then leave it dry, and obviously do the other side as well. So to add a nice highlight to Joker's costume, I'm now going in with a lighter purple, which is it's just an airbrush paint, this one, but it really lends itself as a top coat over the more darker Imperial purple from Games Workshop. So now that the main figure is starting to really take shape, for the next stage I need to go ahead and recreate the iconic Joker logo. Now this was originally from the Horizon kit, which was the last Joker that I built, and I ended up not making a base to that kit, so this was obviously left over, and I have to say it was a godsend because it fits the new base really well. So speed up footage montage now, and you can see how it was painted. And here I am gluing it to the base. So I've added a little bit of milliput to the back just so it has a nice clean surface to stick to. So for the next piece we're going to have to recreate another flower for the top of his jacket. So once again I looked online and I found a Joker bust with a really nice flower on it, and I managed to remove that as an STL file, and as you can see here I've added the support, and this is how it will be built in the resin printer. So yeah, let's get printing. Okay, so after about a good 2 hours it printed off and I put it in the queuing machine. Now, even though this does end up working, unfortunately, because I queued it with the support attached, the supports were a lot harder to remove, and there was a slight part that broke off, so as you can see there. So no big trouble, just super glue to the rescue, and left it to dry, and then it's just ready to paint. So when it comes to painting, I'm going to start with just some surface primer, and I'm just going to squirt it on the palette there, and then just get me some tweezers, take my time, make sure it gets into all the nooks and crannies, and then just leave to dry. So for the next bit I'm going to go in with the same base tone of purple that I've painted the Joker's clothes in. This will just make as a nice base tone that I can then lighten up around, and it'll also complement the Joker's colour attire. Then a bit of super glue to the rescue, and I'll stick it in place and then leave it to dry, and then we can start thinking about adding some lighter tones to make it stand out. Then I went in with a nice metallic light, like a slight like pinky purple, which was really nice undertone. And once that dried, I went in with a vibrant bright pink, which really brought the highlights, well, to the forefront. So for the next bit, I wanted to go ahead and I wanted to mix up some clear resin. So equal measures of part A, part B, and then take your time stirring it, and this is going to go towards securing the base, because the base was made out of Super Sculpty originally. So I wanted to go ahead and add some clear resin for two reasons. One, just to protect it in general, and two, with it being clear resin, it'll give it that tile look, or sheen if you like. So yeah, let's mix it all up and then we can apply it. So when I've got some clear resin still left over, I'm going to go in with a very fine paintbrush that I don't want anymore, or I don't need anymore, and I'm going to carefully paint the Joker's eyes, mouth, and then Harley's eyes and mouth as well. And then I'll leave that and the base a good 48 hours to fully cure, and then I believe it's finished.
Enough of this rubbish.
Hey!
We were watching that!
Okay guys, so it's finally officially finished after 12 long years of not only being shelved, but boxed up and put at the back of the deepest, darkest crawl space you've ever seen in your life. But I have to admit, coming across this, I've really enjoyed refinishing this off. I think all us model kit builders, I think we've all got a history of the odd project that we originally started with good intentions, but unfortunately life hits you hard in different ways, and unfortunately some of these projects end up just getting shelved or even you know, binned, you know, God forbid. So yeah, so I'm over the moon with how this has turned out. So the only thing that's left to do is to put him in his place. Okay guys, what do you think? Do you think your suit's been in the middle there? Me myself, I'm really happy with how this turned out. And now officially, I've completed the new backdrop, so yay. Okay guys, so if you've enjoyed this video, which I hope you have, please smash that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on future builds. So once again, I'm Francis Gray, and this is the 12 years in the making Joker and Harley Medal of Statue. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next build.